Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Robbie Rhino, and in today's video I have the pleasure of reviewing the Leopard 1A1, which is a premium era 2 medium tank for the Western Alliance in the Cold War game mode, and it's a German medium tank which is the level 100 reward for the Steel Beasts season, which started today, Tuesday the 19th of April. I've had a fantastic play session in this tank today, made a lot of silver, and I was itching to get my hands on this tank ever since I found out this would be in the season, because I love my Leopard 1 in World War II, and yeah, I think it's pretty much the same kind of playstyle. Mobile, a great accurate sniping gun, great shell velocity, nice choice of ammunition, and it's just an all-round good package. And I'll tell you all about the statistics of the tank in today's video. I'll tell you what the bonuses of the tank are. I have 3 gameplays for you. The first 2 games are, in damage wise I should say, pretty consistent kind of damage what I've been getting in this tank. So I've been having some pretty good consistent damage games, regardless of whether they're wins or losses. And the third game is one of the better games that I've had in my play session earlier today, and by the looks of the mastery badges that I'm getting with some pretty good games, it looks like other players are playing this tank really well, and I think if you like this play style you will absolutely love this tank. So as it's a premium tank, you do earn bonuses. You have a 10% XP bonus, a 10% commander XP bonus, and the big one, the 65% silver bonus. So you earn an absolute crap ton of silver. I think I've made like 8 to 10 million silver just in my play session today. You can make between 300 to like just over 500,000 silver if you're using ×2 boosters. So now we'll head on and talk about the statistics of the tank. Well, it's got 2,500 hit points, which is towards the lower end of Era 2, but it is slightly better by 50 hit points than the Centurion 9, and the Centurion 9's one of the best comparisons to this tank, so I might mention the Centurion 9 a little bit during this review. In terms of its view range, it's 515 meters, which isn't too bad at all, and you can get that up even further with equipment and a commander. And now we get to talk about the really good aspect of this tank, and that's this beautiful 105mm rifled gun. You have 7.79 rounds per minute with a DPM of 3,583.4, which isn't the absolute best, but it is better than a Centurion 9, and the whole package and that DPM just makes this tank a fantastic tank, and one of the better level 100 rewards I've seen in any of the seasons so far, in my personal opinion. So this 105mm deals 460 alpha damage on its standard and premium rounds, which are both APF SDS rounds, and you have 570 alpha damage on your HESH rounds. And yes, this does carry HESH rounds, and they are extremely useful for those pesky light tanks, and they can improve your DPM and rack up some more damage. So the penetration is one fantastic aspect of this gun. On the standard APF SDS rounds it's 449, and on the premium it's 505, which is kind of best in class for Era 2 medium tanks. It's absolutely fantastic. It does struggle a little bit with spaced armor and the explosive reactive armor, so try not to hit that, and the sides of things like FV4 211s can be really annoying to penetrate. But apart from that, most plates that you shoot at, even from a sort of mid to long range, you're going to be penetrating. And with the fantastic shell velocity that this gun has, which I'll talk about in just a moment, you shouldn't be missing too many shots. I'll just touch upon the HESH rounds. So I said they're 570 alpha damage, and the penetration for those rounds is 250mm. So yeah, if you find some nice light tanks to shoot, you can rack your damage up very, very quickly indeed. The shell velocity then, on the standard rounds it's 1455 meters a second, and on the premium APF SDS rounds it's 1478 meters a second. So very good for sniping at mid to long ranges. You don't have to give too much lead, and it's a great tank to practice sniping in. That does drop down significantly though with the HESH rounds, and the shell velocity on that is 737 meters a second. It's a base reload of 7.7 seconds, a 1.7 second aim time, 0.32 accuracy, And yeah, 9 degrees of gun depression, which is pretty usable on most terrains, 20 degrees of elevation, and you carry 60 rounds of ammunition, meaning you have plenty rounds to take a nice mixture of ammunition. So that brings to a close the first game there, where we finish with just shy of 6.2k direct damage, 1300 assistance, 3 kills, and just shy of 365,000 silver profit. So we're going to head on now into the second replay. I'll talk a little bit more about the statistics of the tank, and then we'll get talking about my equipment and commander setup and the gameplay. So we're now into the second replay of today's video, and we're here on Mannheim. So this will be an interesting map to see how the Leopard 1A1 performs on a city map that isn't sort of best suited to sniping in foliage, although there are some good areas for that. And you'll see how the good mobility of the Leopard 1A1 gets me into position nice and early to get some sort of spots off at the start of the game and to see where the teams are going and get some nice sniping damage in right at the start. So talking about mobility, let's talk about the statistics of the mobility of the Leopard 1A1. So you have an 830 horsepower engine with a 20 horsepower per ton. You can go forwards at 65.2 kilometers an hour and backwards at 26.6 kilometers an hour, and that backward speed is actually pretty damn decent. And if you choose to use mobility equipment, which I'll go over in just a second, you can improve that to nearly 30 kilometers an hour, which is really nice, and it can get you out of harm's way on ridge lines very often actually. In terms of the traverse speeds then, it's got a hull traverse of 48 degrees a second, which is really nice, and the 36 degrees a second on your turret is a little bit lacking, but with that mobility equipment you can improve that, and it all round sort of makes a very mobile medium tank with a fantastic gun. And you're already seeing, I think, or I hope, why I enjoy this tank, or why a lot of people will like this kind of playstyle. In terms of the armour then, there isn't much to say. It's a Leopard, and if you've played the Leopard 1 in World War II, you'll know what I'm on about. There isn't much armour at all. You do get some funky ricochets, but the strongest plate of armour you have is 70mm on the upper plate. That is angled backwards, so sometimes at really extreme angles you will get a weird ricochet, but apart from that you have 66mm on the mantlet plus 65mm of a sort of spaced armour in front of that. The side of the turret is 60mm thick, the lower plate is 50mm thick. The sides of the Leopard 1A1 are 30mm, and there's a little sloped part, or a little sloped strip at the top of the side, which is 35mm with 10mm of spaced armour, but it doesn't really matter too much. Most things are going to be able to penetrate you. You might get lucky with some ATGMs hitting some spaced armour, or just splashing into your tracks and doing reduced damage, but you're pretty much going to be penetrated by everything. And I've been swarmed by armadillos and things like that with low penetration, even the BMPs with their little autocannons, and they penetrated nearly every round, which doesn't usually happen to tanks in Cold War era 2, in my experience anyway. So in terms of my equipment and commander, what do I use? Well, I run an advanced loader to improve my DPM, a gun stabilizer to make sure it plays the part of that accurate sniping medium tank, and I choose to run a traction system. It's kind of a toss-up between the advanced powertrain and the traction system, but I choose the traction system because it improves the whole rotation as well, and just makes it feel much more mobile. And when you do get up to top speed, you do outrun quite a lot of tanks, and you're going to beat the heavy tanks into position, and that just means that you're going to be first to get the assistance, first to sort of spot out and be able to get your hands on that juicy damage for yourself. In terms of my commander then, I run Sixth Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Rapid Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Situational Awareness, and Camouflage Expertise. Those last two skills, I used this crew on quite a few medium tanks in World War II, so I like to boost my view range for that and my camouflage, but it does come in useful in Cold War as well. But the main skills you want to focus on are gun handling skills. You want to put everything into making your gun as accurate as possible, so you can play that typical Leopard style of sniping at mid to long ranges and being really effective with your penetration. and rapid loading of course does improve my DPM just that little bit further. So with my equipment and commander setup, I now have a 1.63 second aim time, a 0.23 accuracy, and a DPM of 4613.8, which is really nice. My view range is now boosted to 572 meters, and my mobility is now really nice for a medium tank in Era 2. I go 71.72 kilometers an hour forwards, 29.26 kilometers an hour backwards. My hull traverse is now 52.8 degrees a second, and my turret traverse is now a respectable 41.3 degrees a second. So that's all the statistics of the Leopard 1A1, and I think you're seeing why a lot of people enjoy this tank and why the sort of all-round package for a medium tank is pretty good, especially with that silver bonus. As you can see here, I run the smoke consumable for that passive camouflage boost, and also to get out of situations like this where I'm in a bit of a tight situation. I'm using the free aim just to go through the smoke to get the shot off myself first, so they're not just going to be able to auto aim onto me. You free aim through the smoke there and you're able to get the first shot off, and in this game we've picked up 6.1k damage. And it looks like we've actually blocked a shot of 205 damage, which is always nice in a Leopard tank. So now I'm just trying to get the high ground here, to use my 9 degrees of gun depression to make their shots harder for me. And I'm just going to try and set up here with my teammates and take this close game down. You can see that I've tried to get into position early on to spot at that sort of little sniping position. You have some nice shots down the corridors here on Mannheim. You do have to be careful, people will pre-aim for that location, especially if people are firing ATGMs. You don't want to get hit by one of them because it will absolutely annihilate you with this really poor armour. But yeah, we've racked up some nice damage. You can see when this gun gets firing, especially with the fantastic shell velocity and accuracy and mobility, you can get into really nice positions, put your gun to work, and you rack up the damage and you make a ton of silver. And I think the results of these battles in today's video are where I'm using a 1.5 silver booster, so you'll be making even more if you have some nice 2x silver boosters, and I do have some in stock to use for my next session in this tank. So now I'm just trying to get the last little bits of damage here. It looks like this heavy tank has come to help me, and he did sacrifice himself for me. I'm hoping that I'm going to out reload this Type 82 just to finish him off, but he does back up and we get taken out by the Scorpion 90, but we make a nice final stand. They are now on hopefully a small amount of damage that our friendlies can help us, and there we go. We take that game down, finishing in the MVP slot with 1 kill, 7.7k direct damage. That's only a second class, and yeah, 1493 base experience points, and we make a fantastic profit there of 380,000 silver. So we're going to head on now into the third and final game, and I'll talk you through a little bit more about how I like to play the Leopard 1A1 and give you my final thoughts. So now you join me on Vineyards in the third and final replay of today's video, and this is a little bit of a smaller map, but it does give me plenty of open areas to use my gun depression and my fantastic sniping 105mm gun. So it's an encounter battle with the encounter in the sort of middle of the map towards the city location. I'm going to come up here to this little sniping ridge. Got to be careful not to knock down too many trees in case people do notice me and blind fire me, or actually spot me with true vision and shoot at me. But I'm hoping to catch people that are crossing from the north and heading towards that location to the right of me, and trying to counter my position. So I'm trying to get as much damage here as possible, making use of the light tanks that are spotting for me. And this is kind of Leopard 1A1 basically, and not Leopard 1A1, this is Leopard 1A1. And now I have found a title for today's video, so that's absolutely great news. That wasn't planned, I promise. So we're using the foliage here to shoot behind the foliage. I'm trying not to go forwards too much, one, because I don't want to get spotted like that, and two, because if people do see my shell tracers, I don't want the enemies seeing me through the foliage. I want to try and stay hidden for as long as possible, keep my position, keep changing it up like I'm doing now, keep them guessing, and just trying to preserve my hit points, because I've had a few games where I've been too aggressive in this tank, and although I've had some pretty good damage numbers, I could have had some pretty epic games. I was too aggressive at the start, lost too many hit points, and 2,500 hit points don't go too far when you're getting smacked by 80 GMs and tanks that have, you know, their multiple weapon system or great DPM and things like that, or high alpha damage. So this tank excels as a mid to long range sniper. Use your mobility to get into position early on, to get into a good position. It can be an aggressive position as long as you know there's an escape route, and I highly recommend using the smoke consumable. But if you want to improve your DPM even more, maybe use combat rations. That would be a good choice as well. And as you can see here, I'm just supporting teammates that I feel like need my help. I'm just going to carry on doing what I'm doing, basically. It's not the sort of prettiest kind of gameplay or flashy gameplay. I'm not sort of up close and personal with tanks, face hugging, side scraping, using my armor because I don't have any. This tank's role is to sort of spot if you can, but support your heavies, snipe at mid to long ranges, and use your mobility to flank the enemies where you can. And if you have this skin, you can just sit there and look pretty while you're doing it. I think the skin is 3,000 gold, I believe, if you're interested in the skin. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm not a fan of all the skins in World of Tanks console. I think the PC ones are slightly better, but yeah, this one looks pretty cool, and I'm a big fan of the Leopard tanks, so I thought I'll treat myself. So you can see here how quickly the shells get to their location, even at distances like here, just shy of 600 meters. This is with the standard APF SDS rounds, and it'll be ever so slightly faster with the premium rounds. You're seeing that I'm struggling sometimes with some of the sort of Soviet heavies in Era 2. Their spaced armor and their tracks just absorb a lot of shells, especially at mid to long ranges, but even that's good really. You're tracking them in place for your teammates, and you can get a nice lot of assistance doing that as well. And I'm just trying to support teammates where I can. I'm now feeling like maybe I should have been a little bit more aggressive to the north, or maybe even push down to the south, and I'm thinking now, right, this is probably the time that I'm going to have to retreat. There are tanks in the north that are going to be coming this way, and I want to try and get out with dodge before they come and get me, and I want to use these ridge lines to sort of spot for my team and also stop their advance. And I'm expecting the enemies to come down from the north and come down this way, and I'm going to go under this bridge, come up here and try and spot them as they advance and get some nice assistance. And this is a great map for medium tanks and light tanks and any kind of mobile tank. If you push up from this kind of direction towards the city location, you can spot up people that are sitting right at the back there in that sniping location and get some great assistance. And I've had some really epic games in light tanks on this map, and it's actually one of my favourite maps in the game, and I think it looks pretty damn cool as well. But in terms of this particular game, we've picked up 4.1k direct damage and 405 assistance, and I'm just trying to help out this heavy tank that is in front of me here, and I have a medium tank and a heavy tank behind me. I'm not trying to expose myself too much. We track that tank there on that ridgeline, hoping that the medium tank behind me will get a 80 GM into the top of his tank. But now we're going to try and take out this Leopard, and the M60A2 obliges and helps us, and now we're going to get another shot into this T72. We're going to go all in here. I've preserved my hit points for just this kind of reason, to go in when needed, take a shot and get tanks out of the game. Unfortunately, we don't take any damage in that engagement, and we help our M60A2 out there as well. And now we're just trying to get some side shots in before we advance to defend the cap circle. So what do I think about the Leopard 1A1? Well, as you can sort of probably tell by the way I'm talking about it, I really enjoy this tank. It's a fantastic sniper, really accurate, great shell velocity, fantastic penetration, especially with the premium APF SDS rounds above 500mm of penetration. It's fantastic. The mobility equipment really helps with the mobility. Of course, that makes absolute sense, but it does help you sort of get to positions quicker than the Chieftains, than the FE4211s, helps you keep up with some of the light tanks and the other faster medium tanks, and just means that you can try and avoid getting rammed as well, because I've been rammed by some of the heavier sort of Soviet heavies or a Mobat or something like that, and it doesn't do too well. You can ram the light tanks pretty well, but when you do get rammed by the heavy tanks, you do lose a hell of a lot of your hit points. So now we have this T72AV come in after us, and I'm just hoping that he doesn't have the gun with the ATGMs on, but we're trading sort of 1-for-1 at the moment, and you can see that we're penetrating him with ease. This is up close and personal, and I'm now using the premium rounds in this tight engagement. I'm just going to try and kite him round, hoping that one of my teammates gets a shot into him. And you can see here, this is where the mobility comes into play. You're able to get out of tight situations, and the smoke comes in handy as well. I've got enough to take 1, maybe 2 shots, but I just want to absolutely make sure of this kill. I want to get 1 more shot into here. I was hoping to track him. We do damage his fuel tank there by the looks of it, and now it's just a case of trying to get the last shot in. The FE4-211's face hugging him, which is good play by him, but I was trying to get a shot in, trying to go around the side, and then just trying to get around in a bit of an awkward engagement here. But we do manage to get the final shell into the side of that T-72 AV, taking this one down, picking up 8 point something damage. I'll tell you in a minute. 8.2k direct damage, 2 kills, finishing MVP, 405 assistance, 376,000 silver profit, even though we fired a substantial amount of the premium APF SDS rounds, and 1545 base experience points, and another second class mastery, just showing you how good this tank is. So I hope you've enjoyed today's review. I highly recommend grinding through the season pass to get this, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. So until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield, and bye for now.